wonder why people's lives take these mysterious turns, and many of them end up in situations that we say, oh my goodness, what a horrible thing. But like Jeremy has said, and even Tony, who's not in prison because he committed a crime, he's innocent. There are people who say all the time, if it had not been for my time in prison, not that we would not have wished for them to have an easier journey, but out of that comes great wisdom and great teachers and people who, in the depths of suffering, are the healers and the life changers who are never ever recognized because they're in a prison, but they are doing more beneficial work than because they live there every day with people that are in great distress, and they are the healers. And those who get out will be the healers that bring that wisdom back to their neighborhoods, back to their families. Let's do an exercise. Each of you has a piece of paper, and we have leave it on, and we'll just let it be captured through. We have a list of things that people can do in the prison. We don't have time to discuss them all, but I want to get them all said from that perspective of planting seeds. And the thing I did not put on this list is get involved with with legislators, representatives, and give them information that we know what is going on. It's the shining of the light that Jean was talking about on what goes on behind bars, so that they both feel supported in making some of these recommendations, and so they have information. But if you will with me, please, let's each of us go around and around the circle saying one of these bullets. Do you have them there on the kitchen counter? Bring one for Jean too.
Oh, I've got one.
Okay. And each of us say one of these bullets. I'll also say before we start something else I didn't include, but Steve Copley, who is head of the Interfaith Council, and I have been working for a year, and we're still intent on accomplishing this, where we're encouraging every religious institution, churches, synagogues, temples, to each adopt a prison, so that in adopting a prison, they will help with Christmas, they'll help with cards, they'll help with people going in to teach classes. And so even if half the churches in the state would adopt a prison, each prison would have about 15 churches, and that would help. So I'm wanting for us to all say together kind of what are things that can be done, and then we'll say a little bit more. So I'm going to start. I said that part about the legislators and adopt a prison. Lisa, do you want to read the next one?
Work as a volunteer in the schools to teach kids to read and to mentor kids throughout their school years.
Great. Karen?
Volunteer with kids in any other way that presents itself.
Visit kids incarcerated in youth facilities.
Send Christmas cards to those in prisons and youth facilities.
Help with Christmas gift purchasing and delivery at a local prison.
Encourage your church or other organizations to get involved in helping a nearby prison.
Learn how to use the prison system's database in your state and send birthday cards.
You may write to any prisoner, but it is safer if the name comes from someone you trust and the inmate is someone who wants to enjoy personal growth through your correspondence.
You may visit an inmate, but in Arkansas, you can only be on one inmate's visitation list at a time. Each state has different rules.
You may be writing to someone and then decide you would like to visit them.
Or you may start out with an understanding that you will help to tutor them to gain their GED or other skill proficiency.
You may visit them to help gain an understanding of their case and guide them as to legal options.
If you are not on anyone's individual visitation list, you can work with a prison official to do volunteer work in the prison.
There are some organized volunteer programs and some when you might establish a program. Oh, much depends on whether the prison is a maximum or supermax security prison, medium or minimum.
Or you might be considering a jail or a community corrections institution. Rules for each would be different.
Depending on the institution, you might want to counsel people as a spiritual support person, a meditation group leader, as a teacher, in preparation for release from prison, as a psychological support person, or in some prisons with projects like art, writing, yoga, pause in prison, etc. For each, we must figure out who you would be working under and what the rules for a volunteer in that prison might be.
Or you could work to benefit those in prison by volunteering for an organization such as CWFA, but helping us serve them. We have our inmate art program, our Dharma Friends newsletter, literacy program, fundraising, event sponsorship and planning, and much more.
Now, the need is endless, and the efforts, I didn't even begin to capture all the things we could do. I did include a page that you can take home and read on your own, because there are some concerns that when you're in a prison, there are some very real issues. And one of our mottos in our, that we hear nonstop in the Certified Religious Advisors program is never forget that you're in a prison. Because there's always the concerns of somebody who could attack you or take advantage of you in some way. So these are good rules to be aware of. But I feel like just by saying all of these things together and sharing everybody's story today, we've kind of got a broad view of what's right and what's miraculous and what's so totally broken about the criminal justice system, the prison system, how many people in our world and society have never had a chance from their conception and their birth and their childhood. And we all hear about the cradle to prison trajectory, which is real. And by just saying all of this out loud, I am not at all going to urge everybody go out and sign up for more programs, because you're already doing so much. But the one thing I encourage is if you're talking to people, because sometimes we get weird looks, sometimes we get this, what are you doing going into the prisons? Oh, you have a child in prison? Or all of these ways that we're invited to feel like we're in a hidden world of what is bad and what are we doing with all those bad people. I say talk about it as though everybody who hears what you have to say will open up a door to their awareness and their consciousness. And then it's, just taking baby steps. But through the world that needs so much education, like you were saying, and somebody else said, I never even thought about prisons. We need to be the ones that begin them thinking about prisons. And just as much, it has to be just as clear as if somebody said, oh, my father had a heart attack and he's in the hospital. How many people gather around? Well, my father had a heart attack. These people did this to help my father. And everybody has a big discussion about somebody who's ill or in the hospital. I would love to see everybody have that much caring concern when we bring up somebody's gone to prison, somebody's being in trouble, somebody needs help. I want everybody to gather around with compassion and say, what can I do to help? Now, let's take a minute because it's almost closing time. But anybody have anything you'd like to say or share about the experience of everybody kind of sharing these stories, which are so beautiful? Or anything you'd like to plant a seed just by saying on the tape to inspire people? Anything that you want to say in closing?
I just want to say thanks to Susan for coming out. I mean, this is new to you, so it's an interesting world. Appreciate you opening your mind to it.
Second.
Here, here.
Well, it's like Anna said to me in an email yesterday when I said I was coming, she said, good for you for stretching.
Yes.
It is a stretch. It's
Yes.
a big stretch. But like I said, I think it's going to, and like Jim said, I think it's going to be of as much benefit to me as it will be to anyone that I help, because I need to learn that everybody is worthy of compassion. I need to learn that. That's new to me. I'm good at being compassionate to animals. Very easy. Very easy. But people are harder. And that's why I'm here, because I feel like I can help people, and I am learning to be compassionate with people through my experience in AA. That's even myself. Like Jim said, forgiving yourself. And someone said to me last night, you have to learn to, and when I told him I was going to be here, and he's someone who goes into the prisons.
Oh, good.
He talks about the people for whom orange is a fashion statement, and he goes into the prisons on Monday nights. And he said to me, the first person you have to be compassionate with is yourself, and I have had trouble forgiving myself.
And let's all applaud that for each and every person everywhere. The first person we need to have compassion for is ourselves. Compassion and forgiveness. So good message.
I'd like to say how much it means to have Jeremy here, because I just think that what you have done and are doing, and your willingness to participate in this kind of thing is as powerful a statement as any that we could make, any of us can make. Because basically I think we're all prisoners on a deep metaphorical level, and there's some aspect of our lives that we tend to get incarcerated in, and we all want to be free.
Great.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for having me. And just for any anybody that's considering getting involved with this type of work, I would greatly encourage it, because it's beneficial to the people that are incarcerated and their families. They really need the help. And then also, it's beneficial to the person that's doing the volunteer work too. There's definitely a great need for it, and it does make a big difference. If someone hadn't been there to help me, no telling where I'd be now. So I'm very grateful.
Yes.
And it's easy to get involved too in doing the volunteer work. Something as simple as writing cards or writing letters or something. The little stuff like that does make a tremendous impact. For me, it started with someone writing me scribbling me a little note on a cereal box. And that's like the first thing I got from Christopher. And started with that and turned into a very, very life-changing ordeal. And so, anything that anybody does makes a difference.
Thank you. Shell once, we've all seen the internet thing that makes the rounds, but Shell sent it once about the little girl that's throwing the starfish back in the sea.
Yeah.
And the grumpy old man comes along and says, "You'll never save all those starfish." And the little girl says, or help all those starfish.
Yeah.
And she throws another starfish back in the water, and she says, "I helped that one." Anybody else have anything you'd like to say before we stop?
I have one thing. I had written Tony and told him, sent him a copy of Anna's email, and I said, tell me what you think we should talk about.
Great.
And he said, oh, I know you guys will talk about everything you need to talk about. He said, but be sure and make the point that when you talk about people in prison, talk about us as humans.
And how about talking about them as equals and not somebody that we need to help? I mean, because it's all equal. I was really touched by Jeremy talking about his relationship with his daughter and how difficult that was to not be reassured that she was okay in the deepest sense of knowing your love and feeling your love. And I mean, even though you had a somewhat supportive family in that situation, it could have been way worse, and of course it could have been way better. And I was influenced as a really young person, as a teenager, by my mother, who was really involved with prison work. She was a visiting nurse, and she would go into prisons and visit people and help them with their health needs, not professionally, but just as something that she wanted to do. And I was in her room one time and found the little button that said, "Why do we kill people?" to show that killing people is wrong. It's like, oh, you know. So we plant these seeds all the time, knowingly and not knowingly, but to sort of bring it full circle for me. So here's my daughter in Wisconsin. She's in library school, and she's particularly interested in children's literature as a way not just to share literature, which she was an English major and loves literature, but as a way to mentor people and help people, because she's worked at the libraries and she's seen the homeless people come in and the young people come in and the confused people come in. We're all confused, we're all looking for help somewhere, or we all appreciate help somewhere. And so she wants to help young people through the library system, sort of like social work, you know, but I mean, we all have like our little inroads in. But she was also interested in this program in Wisconsin because they have a prison system as part of the library school, and she doesn't know much about it yet, but one thing she said they do is volunteers will go into the prisons with tape recorders, and the parent can read, and then take that to the child, so the child gets to hear the parent's voice reading a story. And maybe that goes on a lot of places, and I don't know if it goes on around here, but what a basic, lovely, simple thing to help with that connectedness and help with literacy and learning and sharing. So anyway,
We should add that to our list.
That's tremendous,
Yes,
yeah.
wonderful.
It's a great way to make that
Isn't
connection.
it? And to hear that voice as well as, the loved person's voice, they're right there for you, and they're teaching you the love of learning.
I just wanted to say one last thing, and that was that I'm so grateful to everybody, and this has been a wonderful, beautiful morning. I want to thank Anne for teaching me, the beauty of human beings. And, I never really understood that concept of, if somebody's in prison, to take care of like this one person, like one person in prison could make a difference of doing that. And I've just learned so many lessons from Anna about how to keep the focus on, that one thing or that one person or that one thing, and just stay with it. I've heard it's kind of like just having a conversation, that what you should do is, let the other person talk. When they are done, kind of take a breath, and then you can start. And that's kind of the way I see her living her life, is to just, wait till it's all done, and then it's time for me to participate. And it's been a really, awesome and great lesson. And I just want to say thank you.
I've been very well aware, as we sit here, that you are the hub of the wheel.
She's why I'm here.
We all came into this through you.
And I'm the hubby of the hub.
Yes, you are. The ripples are going out.
We're all